I'm not saying that these ruin a book for me, but they certainly don't improve it. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am taking you through some tropes that I hate reading, that I feel are overdone, and that generally kind of turn me off on a book. I'm not saying that it makes the book worse. I'm not saying that it's something that if you enjoy these, your reading tastes are trash. It's just stuff that doesn't work for me. It's tropes that I kind of tend to avoid, or if I do end up reading them, it doesn't really do anything for me. The first trope is cheating or any kind of infidelity that comes up in books. I am not a fan of this in real life, so I'm not really a fan of it in media either. I'm not a huge fan of it in movies either. I'm not a huge fan of it in TV shows. I don't feel like it really forwards the plot in the way that you really want it to do so. And it's not something that I would aim for if I am reading a book. It's not something that I am ever looking out for. I can't even think off the top of my head of a book I've read or a TV show that I've seen or a movie that I've watched and I've said, this is where cheating is done right. This is where a cheating narrative is important for the plot, or it helps move everything forward. It's just something that I feel doesn't need to be in a book. Something else that I really don't enjoy is shoehorned representation. Representation just for the sake of being able to say that your book ticks boxes. That there is a character of colour who just feels like a caricature, that they were put in as a kind of an afterthought, that there are LGBT characters who just feel like they're there to make up a number. I just feel like this is so counterproductive because it feels like all of the efforts that have been put in to further all of the representation that we have seen that has been done well has just taken another step backwards. I haven't read YA for a really long time, but there are a couple of things that really stood out to me in YA books as things that I didn't really want to see. One of those is a YA book that had a forced romance. As I've said before, I wasn't really in relationships when I was a teenager. So reading something like that didn't feel like something that I could associate with. It didn't feel like something that I had any experience in. So it felt like kind of reading another world. It felt like reading a whole other thing that I just didn't know anything about. And while we do read to experience other worlds and to live other lives, it felt like that was a life for me that was just so completely out of the reach of reality that it wasn't enjoyable. Something else about YA that I didn't love was super popular siblings, but the main character themselves was kind of a wallflower or an outcast or didn't really have a big group of friends. Again, that was something that I had experienced as a teenager, not with a sibling thing, but just having been the outcast and having been the wallflower when I was younger. Again, that was something that I didn't really associate with. It wasn't something that I genuinely wanted to read. I didn't enjoy reading it. So it was something that I tend to swerve away from. Going back to the adult books, and something that I really don't enjoy is insta-love. I do not like reading about this instant, surefire, we know 100% connection. I love reading a build-up, a slow build-up of them discovering their feelings for each other, falling in love over the course of a couple of hundred pages, rather than meeting on page 50, getting married on page 51, buying a house on page 52 and having kids on page 53. I don't think that there's anyone that I know in real life who can say to me, I knew from the instant that I met my partner that we were going to get married straight away. I feel like it's something that love at first sight is romanticized, but not realistic. Another love aspect that I really hate is a love triangle. It kind of ties in with cheating in a way that I don't want to see somebody else vying for the main character's affection. I just want to concentrate on the one relationship that is being presented to me, whether it's in a good place, whether it's in a not great place, and they're trying to build it all back up together. But I don't love to see this kind of interjection of another potential partner here, kind of just putting a spanner in the works. It feels something like this is just being done to bring in a little bit of drama. This is just being done to give you a little will they, won't they situation that I don't necessarily reach out for. We do all know some very famous love triangles. We do all know some very not well written love triangles. And I would say that there's not really been a love triangle that I would feel had been done well. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. There are a couple from when I was a teenager, like in The Hunger Games or like in Twilight, where it was a genuine, who is this person going to end up with? And I didn't always feel like they had ended up with the right person. I didn't always want them to be kind of flitting between these two people anyway. I just wanted to see one relationship, let that run as it runs, and have a friendship with the other person. A huge bugbear for me in books is miscommunication. When two characters could just sit down and talk about what is happening in their lives, in their relationship, at work, in their families, just sit down and have a conversation with this person that you really want to spend the rest of your life with anyway. I feel like if you are at a stage where you are contemplating spending the rest of your life with them, you are contemplating a long-term relationship, however that might look for you, if you can't talk to them about something so basic and so small as an accident at work, or something that you said wrong to somebody else, or something that you said wrong to them, I don't feel like that's a relationship that you should be in. I don't feel like you have the communication style needed for this to be a successful relationship. I am also not a fan of a second chance romance. And there is a reason for this. I feel like if you have been together 10, 15, even 5 years ago, and it didn't work out, for whatever the reason was, I feel like it's not very likely to work out again a second time. Things aren't always completely different as they were 5 years ago. They're not always completely different as they were 10 years ago. Some of the same problems might be showing their face again in 10 years, in 15 years, in 5 years. So I don't understand why a second chance romance would work, and often it takes so much convincing for me to see it. Finally, a trope that I really don't enjoy reading is a surprise pregnancy. I know so many people in my life who are struggling with infertility, who have struggled to conceive a child, who have lost children, who have had miscarriage after miscarriage. And so reading a book like that, where a character just magically falls pregnant on the first try, or who isn't thinking about having children, didn't want them, wasn't considering being a parent, and then falls pregnant, and it seems like the best thing that could ever happen to them, it really does just make my heart sink for all of the people that I know personally, but also all of the people around the world who have struggled with this for so long, and it's potentially a child that they've wanted for years, that they and their partner have longed for, have wished for, have done everything in their power to have. And if they were to pick up this book, it would just happen with no issues for them whatsoever. I feel like it would be such a kick in the teeth for people. Those are some of the tropes that I really, really hate reading. Are there any of these that you and I agree with, or are there any that are on your list that I haven't got? If you'd like to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the thumbs down emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.